भगवान श्री योगी रामसूरतकुमार की जय। सर्वं योगी रामसूरतकुमारार्पणमस्तु। We are all very grateful to Bhagwan for giving us this wonderful opportunity to sing his name right in the shrine of Bhagwan. So let's remember this time when the whole world is suffering from this affliction. We are still able to see Bhagwan right in our drawing room. Bhagwan has entered everyone's house and made it a shrine. Every house has become an ashram of Bhagwan, where you could sit comfortably and sing his name and be lost in it. Every minute spent on Nama is every minute well spent in life. We have been experiencing or reliving the experiences of other people so that we could feel the grace, the overwhelming grace of Bhagwan at those moments. Today's story is the story of a German couple who came to Thiruvanamalai and stayed on. They thought when they came to Thiruvanamalai, they would go back in a month, or in 6 months, or in 1 year. But they stayed for 18 years. It's not for nothing that we are being chosen by the Divine Guru for his work. Nothing is ever in our hands. We go with the stream of life as per the divine will. All the time thinking that it is our choice. Ute, Foker's wife, she joined the Prescott, Arizona ashram in the United States under the guidance of Lee Lozovic. She was very happy being there, chanting and chanting and chanting the powerful divine name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Mr. Lee, many of Bhagwan's devotees know him very well. He came only in 1976 to Bhagwan. He felt the overflow of grace from Bhagwan, and he knew that he had been guided all along by his Guru's grace, Yogi Ramsuratkumar's grace. He went about establishing ashrams in the States, in Germany, France, and there's a branch in Canada and Mexico where Bhagwan's Nama, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, is being chanted. During Paurnami days, the full moon days, I believe in their ashrams, they chant the whole night also. She was happy being there, though she was not very much involved in the name. She did not feel any depth. Yet there was something about the name, and she looked up to Mr. Lee. They all have such devotion towards him. And then one day she was called by her mother, who was in Germany, to come immediately because Ute's father was rushed to a hospital. He had a heart problem. He was admitted in a hospital. So the mother wanted her daughter to come immediately. And then she flew. After she reached the place where her mother was staying, the hospital was only 100 kilometers from there. She borrowed the car from her friend and took her mother along to the hospital. When they were going through a certain village, it was a two-lane road, and she was driving on the right side. On her right, there was this pedestrian's path, and there were many, many, many people walking there. On her left side was another lane for the vehicles. That was also very crowded with the vehicles. And as she was moving on, she saw a truck coming down the hill. It must have been a hilly region. And she saw a truck pulling along, a trailer behind it, coming down the hill. And the driver, when he turned right, the trailer got disconnected from the truck. And as it was coming down, it came with that original speed, and it came straight towards Ute's car. She was horrified. The trailer is a heavy vehicle, and the drawbar was right to the front, and it was coming with speed. She was stunned for a minute. She didn't know what to do. She was horrified. Anything could happen any moment. And then suddenly all she could think of was Yogi Ramsuratkumar. She used to have a photograph there in the dashboard, but then her mother was not used to Indian saints. She had her own misgivings about them. So for her sake, she removed it, but then this Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama that she was chanting all through in Arizona, suddenly it filled her being in extreme fear and horror. She screamed, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, No sound came out. She was scared. At the same time, her screaming would alarm her mother, upsetting her. So the word, the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar did not even get out of her mouth, but still it was very powerful. It was coming from the depths of her being, filling up her whole being. And in a fraction of a second, what magic! It was as though somebody had applied rakes all of a sudden. Two giant hands, unseen hands, putting brakes upon the vehicle. The trailer came straight to the car, and its drawbar went down, and then the trailer stopped within inches from the bumper. Actually, the drawbar was under the bumper, and just a few inches between the two vehicles. How could this happen? A heavy trailer, and the driver, the truck driver, did not even know that it got disconnected. When he found out, he started to drive fast towards these people. Of course, in the meantime, there were people alarmed, and they all gathered, and within minutes there was a huge crowd around. And to the wonder, amazement of everybody around, there was no accident, there was no injury to anybody. That busy road, so many vehicles going, so many pedestrians walking along. It was perfect the way it happened. As though the trailer was obeying Lord's command. It stopped just inches away. But Ute knew how it happened. It's because Yogi Ramsuratkumar happened there. His name happened. His powerful Shakti happened. Everybody was saying, how could this be? What a wonder. Now just think of the situation. Let's relive it. Driving so fast with an old mother and heading on towards a father who had been admitted in the hospital. And suddenly this trailer coming straight at her with such speed. And she knew, anybody would in the circumstances, that she was finished. But then, the very fact that she could scream Yogi Ramsuratkumar's name without being heard is pure grace. And again, the magic of the name happened. What a relief it must have been for everybody around. This is how the divine takes over. This is how the divine descends into the depths of a being. In these moments where you are reduced to utter helplessness, you have nothing, no one to turn to. Your brain stops working. Everything, even your life, you hold your breath. And only the divine. So these are the moments. They are transformational in nature. They are transformative. It transformed her inner being. It transformed everything in her life after that. The depth she was longing for, the involvement happened because of this magic, the magic of this moment. When she knew she was going to die any moment, the trailer was soon going to be upon her car all over. Suddenly she was saved. Many times in life it happens. It's when you think that everything is lost, that all is lost. Everything comes back to you. Those are the magical moments, and they transform your inner and outer life. And therefore, in our everyday life, in all our problems of life, the only refuge is God, God's name. In today's world, everybody is so busy earning money, busy doing this and that, most of which they do not even know what they are all about. We don't even know why we are so busy and what we are busy with. But everybody is busy. And there's hardly any time to think of God. So these are the moments of intense suffering, the mind-blowing moments. They give you a sudden glimpse of God in the depths of your being. These are the moments of revelation, what grace can do. Now that Bhagwan, that magic, pure magic, the magic of grace, is right in front of us here, smiling with his hand raised in benediction, and he has come into your place. You have the shrine of the ashram right inside your house. He has come to your house, making every house an ashram, a temple. Though the narration of such leelas seem to be very worldly, some people may think it's very worldly and that I'm not talking about the inner process of meditation or kinship with God, the experiences, the mystic experiences. We should know that these are also spiritual, everything. Everything about life is spiritual. Yogiji used to say, the whole world together is moving towards one point. There is a collective progress for the world, just as there is individual progress. Individual spiritual progress, there's a collective spiritual progress for the entire world. And if we should experience the spiritual progress, then moments like this COVID scare, the COVID spread, and the world coming to a standstill, despite the strength of the army, despite the strength of all the money. We have been reduced to utter helplessness. And we know at this point our only refuge is God. Yogi Ji used to say that God is the goal, the only goal of life for everyone. This body is given to us, this life is given to us, the life of joys and sorrows, only for the sake of God, only for the sake of remembrance of God. Everybody's life is ruled by the law of karma. God is running the whole cosmos. The lives of billions, zillions of people by the law of karma. And the law of karma is relentless. One word of praise for somebody is coming out of your mouth. Be very sure this word of praise is going to come back to you one day. One word of abuse for someone, you can be equally sure that one day in your vulnerable moment, this word of abuse is going to bounce back. It's going to pounce on you. Such is the law of karma, which is relentless. So all the sufferings of our life, we have invited by our past karmas. Whatever you give to the world will come back to you. If you have only love and brotherhood, if you have only love and joy to give to people, you can be sure the whole world will give it back to you. If you have only irritation, if you have only abuse, if you have only fault finding with people, this precious life is being spent only in these negative feelings, you can be sure the whole world is going to return it to you one day. And that at your most vulnerable moment. So that you experience exactly what you gave to someone. So knowing this, we have to be very careful in our daily conduct of life, in our daily run of life. We must be very careful with our words, with our actions. Every negative karma, every ill word, ill action, every bad word, every bad action will invite accordingly. So we should be careful. But there is one concession that's been made, because this age is called dark age, Kali Yuga, dark age. In this dark age, the very way of life is adharmic. There will be a lot of violence, there will be a lot of sufferings, lot of sins. People would easily rush into sins with no thinking at all. It would be their way of life. And if people should point out, they would justify. We would rush into justification of whatever we do, so that we don't have to feel the pinch of our conscience. But the conscience is there. Your conscience is your God. It is watching you, watching over you. Sharada Ma, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's divine consort, she said that in this dark age, God has given us one concession. Any sinful thought will not be returned. There will be no punishment for the sinful thought. But if it should take the form of the word or action, it will definitely bounce back. So that much escape is there, because it's so easy. See, when you are thrown into a room full of soot, there is black soot everywhere. You cannot come out of the room without some smearing of that, because it's within the very nature of the room where you are thrown. So you are bound to have a stain of the soot here and there. Like this, in this dark age, in this Kali Yuga, there will be naturally negative thinking. There will be natural violence, suppressed violence, ill will towards fellow beings, competition, jealousy, killer activities. And there are so many other things as well. I don't have to mention them. So they are very natural for this age. And therefore, Sharadama says that God has given this concession in this, that at the level of thinking, it will not bear fruit. But be very careful when you speak something to somebody. It is so easy to hurt people. But remember, one day you will be hurt. It will return to you. It's so easy to find fault, to wash the linen in the public, to write very badly about bandy people, to write very badly about people and think you are above that. It's so easy. That's one way of feeling superior. But know that it's going to so the thing is, there's no use going into it. We know that everyday life, every detail of everyday life also matters. And this life is given to us, this precious life is given to us for the remembrance of God. And remembering the name is remembering God. And Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar used to say, it's only when you remember God you truly live. Other times you may be very busy doing research in science, you may be very busy earning money with your clever ways, but you are dead. Even while living in the body, you could be dead. So let's remember, the only refuge ever is God, His name, and especially the present, unprecedented pandemic situation, our refuge is only God's name and prayer. So let's remember the name as much as possible and keep on praying, praying, praying. Every nama, Yogiji has said, not a single nama goes waste. Every nama does its transforming work. It transforms your inner being, your inside, and it transforms your outer life also. It creates a certain sattvic atmosphere and calms down people. That's one thing that Ute said, that when she went through the accident, when she was saved, imagine that. She said, surprisingly, the whole thing, despite the excitement, they all felt calm. Surprisingly, it had a calming effect on them. That is the mark of the divine. They must have been trembling with tears, shouting excitedly, abusing the truck driver. They could have done 100 bad things at that time. But she said, everybody was calm. Somehow, there was no violent reaction to the situation at all. There was no ill will towards anybody, towards the driver. They were all calm. So you see, it gives at once an inner transformation and an outer changes as well. So let's pray, let's appeal to our Bhagwan here. Let us appeal to his generosity, his boundless compassion, to bestow a huge grace, to intervene. Let us seek his divine intervention, immediate divine intervention, to free the entire humanity from the clutches of this Rakshasic virus.